on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Hello again, St. Lucia. Welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. My name, Philip Sidney, your host. Before I delve into the program for today, I want to remind you of the number of activities that are happening where farmers are gaining so many services as we speak under the UBEC project. We are now distributing water tanks to crop farmers and livestock farmers as we speak. I need to tell you there's a criteria for getting the 1,000-gallon water tank. You need to be a registered farmer, and you need to speak to your extension officer who will guide you, because there's a criteria for accessing those tanks. Okay? Not because you have a farmer ID that guarantees you a tank. So even if you have a card and you go to Bryson Company, you will not get a tank because it has to go through a process. Okay? We need to know what we're doing, and we need to do it well. So please check your extension officer for you getting a tank. Today we are talking about the St. Lucia Pig Farmers Cooperative Society. And with me are two gentlemen who are involved in that organization. Next to me is Mr. Carl Daniel, who is the president of the St. Lucia Pig Farmers Association. And next to him is Mr. Richard Edwin, who is the chairperson of the Education Committee in that same organization. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having us, Mr. Sidney.
Great. Okay, Carl, I'll start with you as the president. I know this society existed for a while as cooperative. It went dormant. So give us a little history. Why was it formed, and where is it at now?
Well, essentially, what has happened is, over the years, many of our organizations, particularly the cooperatives, have gone through a lot of difficulties. And so whatever they were created for, which is to facilitate success of farmers, have not happened as people would have liked to. What happened with the pig co-op is just slightly before the COVID pandemic, we saw the need to come together to get people on board, people with experience, so that we could give assistance to that co-op. We started as advisors. Most of us who are directors now, we started as advisors. And then we graduated into full-fledged directors and have engaging farmers throughout the island and so on. But then you know what happened when COVID came in. A lot of the plans we had severe setbacks and what have you. So after COVID, we decided to get back on board to recommence our plans, so to speak, and to bring farmers together to interact with the Ministries of Agriculture and Commerce, because these two ministries have a direct impact on agriculture. And so, whilst we were putting things together, we, as a matter of fact, we had gone, after we went throughout the country, and we had more than 200 people, pig farmers who joined us. Whilst we have been doing that, we were working together with the Ministry of Agriculture, because we had to review the cost of production in order that we are able to get a fair price for farmers for pork. And so that has been happening. And then along came support by the FAO and that of the Procrastor Corporation, ICA as well. Because what happened, the government has decided that as part of the food security agenda, that they would give particular attention and support to the pork sector as far as it relates to import substitution. Now what that means is that the government is giving us the support to ensure that we're able to produce the pork that the country requires. Okay, so now that takes quite a bit of effort. There is no doubt about it. I've been a farmer all my life. Previous to that, I was an agricultural officer, livestock officer. And so we understand what it takes. So we now, as a co-op, we now have to interact and direct the support in whatever way possible that we are getting from the FAO, which has to do with basically the scientific aspect of pork production, and then with the Procastor Corporation that has to do with the agribusiness part of the sector. Because as you would be aware, government do not grow animals, they do not produce the agricultural commodities, but they give support, they look for support and so on. And then pork production is a detailed undertaking in the sense that if you go wrong in one area, whether it's in the production part of it or at the marketing end, you're going to encounter serious problems. So what we are trying to do is to make sure that we look at the sector in detail as possible, working with Procastor, working with FAO, working with ICA, so that we can have a comprehensive plan for us to have a sustainable pork sector in St. Lucia. And this is critically important because no matter what amount of support the government gives or any organization gives, if the farmers are not able to sell at a profit, there is no sustainability. And then the problems that confront our agriculture in St. Lucia is varied. There are many, many of them. But I am very convinced. It's a lot of hard work. We have been dealing with it for a little while now, almost 2 years now. But I am very convinced that we're going to get to the point that we want to, meaning the success of the pork sector, where farmers are able to produce they're able to produce their animals. They are going to be able to get a fair return. Okay, and that process entails a lot. It entails what we call pre-production, production, and post-production, and we have to give adequate attention to all areas as far as that sector is concerned.
Good. So, Mr. Edwin, we are in a mobilization mood, based on what I'm hearing, and then you, as the chairperson for the education section and compliance, what have you done thus far for the past 2 years with the farmers that you are trying to get back into the sector?
Well, thanks for having me. As Carl said, we are in the rebuilding mode and the mobilization mode. Now, what we are looking for, when we are getting the encouragement and support that we need for farmers. As he mentioned, that we are at the administrative level, we are putting things together, but the practical level, at the mobilization level, we need the farmers. That is our focus right now. And what we are planning, as a matter of fact, we are planning a big meeting on November 27th. We're going to have a big meeting. We have had the support of the Minister of Agriculture to find us a place to set up a secretariat, and we are working on that right now. We have identified somewhere a building where we can do slaughtering. We have to refurbish that and work on that as well. So what we need right now is the engagement of the farmer. And so we are reaching out to the farmers, and we are trying to encourage them to, in spite of the fact that we hear that we have had disappointment in the past, what we want to do, we don't want to focus on the disappointment we have had. What we want to do, we want to refocus and meet the kind of projections that we are making as far as the production is concerned. Okay, so we are reaching out to farmers and to bring them together and to undertake that kind of task that we have ahead of us to ensure that we can reach the target that we have set for ourselves. And this is very important.
So, you don't want to rehash what has happened in the past. I
Right.
understand that. But then at the meeting that you're hoping to have,
Right.
You all need to work on what would the negatives to get them positives. Because, I mean, there must be a base to do this at somewhere, because you all were there before. And then, of course, you all fell by the wayside. The
Right.
point I'm making here is, yes, I know you do not want to rehash it. However, you need to have that in mind, not to do the same things over again, to fall back where you all were.
Well, the main thing is about marketing.
And that's
it's
it.
once you produce, you need somewhere to sell.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was the issue.
This has been an issue with cooperatives all along, with
Okay.
farmers generally all along.
Right.
You know, so we have to consolidate the market and to ensure that our farmers have access to the market, you know, and they can get a good fair price. So that takes organization, that takes, you know, proper operational practices, and that takes a plan of action as far as the business area of the cooperative is concerned, of the farmers. Okay. Farmers have to not necessarily focus only on production, but they have to focus on the business aspect of farming. And so this is what the cooperative is all about. It's to provide the farmers guidance in terms of the business aspect, because cooperative is a business and we have to take it thus.
Well, farming is a business.
Farming is, yes.
You all have about 40% of the market share?
Yes,
What's
well,
it?
it's a little more than 40%. I think it works out to about 60% of the market.
60, oh, that's good.
But what has happened is, as Mr. Edwin said, we have to look forward. But it is very important that we look at the problems of the past. We analyze the problems of the past, dissect the problems of the past, in order that we are able to move forward without these problems resurfacing.
That's correct.
And so this is why we are having a very comprehensive approach this time around. It's taken some time. I know our farmers are hurting because our farmers are being paid way below the cost of production. And anybody who understands business will know if you are being paid below the cost of production, it is not sustainable. So we are now, as a matter of fact, the farmers are subsidizing the consumer. So, but it's part of the process. These are the pains you have to go through in order to be successful. So, as I said earlier, there is the pre-production, there's production and post-production. It's quite a bit of work. It's quite a bit of work. And as a matter of fact, in having discussions with our regional counterparts, because when the idea came, when we started having discussions at the level of the FAO, the PROCRASA, and ICA, we were connected to our counterparts in the Caribbean, because what we found out is what our vision, what we were looking forward to doing, it was already been done in some islands in the Caribbean, and so I have had the opportunity of having discussions with our counterparts in Barbados, Jamaica, and so on, and so it took them roughly 6 years to do what we are doing today. And ours is just short of 2 years. So we are getting there. I know our farmers, it's very painful for farmers, they are hurting, but we just have to hang in there a little bit. We have good cooperation from the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Commerce, particularly the Political Directorate. Now, there are quite a few problems, and we must understand the problems. The private sector worker is totally different to a private sector worker. We need to understand that. We need to do that we need to understand private sector employee will do so much for you. And then we, as private sector, the private sector counterpart of the sector, need to be able to take it from there. So one of the problems of the past, I think we expected too much from the private sector support, because they can only go so far. Okay? Now, what has been happening you can see the commitment of the government, in that they have decided, listen, we're going to give food security attention. And we all know why. If we cannot feed ourselves, we are in trouble.
True.
You understand? And not only that, yes, food, very important. Okay, we need to feed our people. But agriculture presents to us a lot more than just the food. Employment. We get employed by being involved in agriculture. if we do it if we do it ourselves, we produce a qualitative product that does not have some of the negative traits we find in some of the products that you buy from, you import from overseas.
True.
Okay, so the health of our nation is also under consideration, and this is why. And then, of course, we all know what happens if you're able to produce a product locally and you don't have to import it. That you save foreign exchange. Okay, so it is good for the economy of the country. Now, so having said that, the government saw the need for bringing the support to us by way of FAO, PROCASA, ICA to a certain extent. And so we have been working with them very diligently, and we have reached a point now to interact not only pig produce nationally, but the entire nation. Okay? Because food is important not only to farmers, but the entire nation. Okay? And the government, as far as I can see, has made the pork sector, has given the focus to the pork sector from the start. Now, we have a responsibility to be successful. We must succeed. Why? Because once we succeed in the pork sector, then the same model that we use can be adapted and be used for the other subsectors, for chicken, for vegetables, and so on. So at the end of the day, we will have a brand new agricultural sector. Because we in St. Lucia, the problem is that we are very, very good at production. We produce bumper harvest. If you want, we produce a good cabbage, a good lettuce, a good cocoa, a good pork, good chicken. I mean, our pork is very much loved because of the quality of the pork, the flavor of this pork. I mean, it's sold throughout this island. We produce, but what has happened somewhere along the way, the focus was never given to the other side of that equation, which is the marketing of that product, to convert that fantastic product that you produce, to convert it to fair value, so that whichever farmer, whether it's a pig producer, whether it's a vegetable producer, whoever is producing that product is compensated adequately, and that ensures sustainability.
But Carl, have you all done a cost of production?
Definitely.
Right? Because I think what I've heard before, your cost of production was pretty high. One of the components was feed. Okay?
Very much so.
Now, how are you going to address the feeding part of it to ensure that you lower your cost of production? The other part of it too is also labor. Okay, that's another high cost of activity. So your cost of production, I'm hoping that if it is lower, then you can offer that good product that you mentioned to the public at a reasonable price.
Of course. I mean, you're right. You're on target. What we are looking at is, as I said, pre-production, production, and post-production.
Right.
Pre-production is to ensure that the farmers have the type of housing that is necessary, the qualitative genetic material, the breeds and so on, which has happened already, I'm sure.
Is there already?
Many St. Lucians are aware that the government has brought in improved breeds into the island. Okay, then we go into the production. Now the production has to do with the inputs, and feed is a major input as far as, and as well as medications.
Yes.
The pest and disease control and so on.
Right.
Now, once we come together, as a matter of fact, one of the companies, one of the entities that is assisting us, is helping us establish our feed depots. So the idea is that once we come together, we will be able to negotiate as a group with feed suppliers and provide bulk, cheaper feed. Yeah. We'll be buying in bulk, yes, and provide cheaper feed to the farmers.
Beautiful.
Okay. We also, the government is assisting us with establishing the feed depots. Our plan is to have one feed depot in the north, one south, one central. Okay. Our processing plant is going to be in central. Central, we mean Lakai in Dennery. The government is assisting us with that, and that's a significant help because the cost of infrastructure is high.
It's high, yes.
So the government is helping us with the warehousing space. So we are going to bring the stakeholders, the stakeholders who are the benefactor stakeholders, if you want, those who are helping us, the donor agencies. They are helping us with the equipment as well. So at each of those feed depots, we will be having the feed mixers. Well, we'll be able to, because a lot of the farmers still mix their feed. It's not a complete feed as such, because they want to use what is available locally as well. So we'll have those feed mixers where we'll be able to mix the feed for the farmers. So when that task of mixing that feed, and of course to mix it properly, and to make sure we have the right combinations of nutrients, raw materials providing the right nutrients, whether it's to a winner or a fattener, or a breeding stock. So it's a comprehensive plan. That's why we need to interact with the farming population. We interact with the nation as well to show them what we are going through to ensure that this question of food security is addressed. But we have to do it as a business. We are being supported by the government and the stakeholders, the donor agencies, and we want them to know, because we want them to own it. We have brought in people with experience in various fields of agribusiness and what have you, both from the scientific aspect and the business aspects. So we want them to understand that they must take it over. When we are done, when we have put everything in place, they need to take it, hold it, and cherish it, so that future generations do not suffer the problems we ourselves have suffered. And this is critically important, not only for food security, but to sustain our own people in terms of providing employment and so on and so on. This is critically important. So that's why we are engaging them and we're inviting them. We are meeting on the 27th of this month at Lakai, where we have.
Where exactly in Lakai?
At the IRDC buildings. The government is assisting us with the space for our headquarters and what have you, and we're going to have a feed depot there as well, for the central part of the country. And then we want them to come, for them to understand what is it they could do. Now, at this point, we are almost there to be able to deliver to our farmers.
Okay, great.
Okay, and to the consumer. But what we would want them to participate. We still need help. I mean, some of us are overburdened because all of us are doing this thing part-time and voluntarily. Okay, pretty soon, when we start the commercial components in terms of the provision of the feed and this and that and the other inputs, as well as processing the pork, okay, we have come up with very innovative ideas. We have come up with an idea where what we call the social distribution, the same structure you have with or the network rather, where you have people in every nook and crannies doing black pudding, doing barbecue. We intend to use the same network to be able to supply the consumers throughout the island. Great. So and then we are being supported and assisted by these agencies, Procasa Corporation in particular, in that regard. The government is supporting us as well. And so we want our people to come and to understand what it is that they need to do to support us in the meantime, because it's quite a bit of work we have to do as we are about delivering.
I understand that.
You understand?
So basically, at the end of the day, after that meeting, moving forward, what are the steps? You mentioned about the establishment of the abattoir. Okay. Sadly, I don't want to go there. The one down in V4. So you're getting new equipment. Because I don't think you can use what is in existence down at the MPF. So do you have a step-by-step when you'll meet the farmers and moving forward? Do you have a time frame as to where you're going to be?
What has happened essentially, one second, Mr. Edwin, what has happened essentially is that we have various committees that are assisting us in terms of doing the work.
Okay.
So we are looking, as we meet the farmers as well, we are looking to see if we'll be able to get additional help for that workload. But obviously, everything is being planned so that at least by next year, we're able to, or even at the end of this year, going into next year, we'll be able to start supplying the inputs, which is the feed, to our farmers and the pharmaceuticals. Okay, and then the support is forthcoming as well for the equipment. Okay, so it's not, all of it is not going to happen just say you just come up and say on the 30th of next month, boom, it happens. But there'll be quite a bit of activities are going to start from the ending of this year
Moving to
going
next
into the starting of 2025.
Mr. Edwin, you have
Yes, Mr.
at least half a minute to complete because you're nearing the end of our program.
Well, we are hoping that the operations of the Secretariat will be full-fledged.
Established.
Established at that time. You know, and from then on, the education of the farmer starts. Because we have to interact with the farmer, we have to explain to them, and that won't take one shot. It will be ongoing, and we'll be organizing and ensure that each committee plays its role fully, you know, and then we continue to interact with the government as well, so that we can take advantage of the support that we're getting at this time.
Okay, great. So just before we end, I need you to tell the public again, the farmers that you're inviting, in half a minute, what's happening, where the meeting happening, and what to expect.
Well, basically, we have been doing quite a bit for almost 2 years now, and working with various agencies and working with the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Commerce, to ensure that we can have a successful pork sector, sustainable pork sector. And it is the farmers who we need to give the assistance to, so that they can ensure that happens. So we're inviting them on the 27th of November at Lakai, at our
what
new
time?
headquarters. We're starting at 2 p.m. And then where we are hoping that everybody will be exposed to what has been happening. We want to make sure that everybody know, and so they would be in a position to participate from there on into the future.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, Carl, thank you for being here, and Mr. Edwin. I wish you all success. I think you're on the right track, and I'm hoping that you'll fall back where you all were starting from 79 and to the stage that you're right now. Thank you again for being here, and continue the good works. You have been watching Agriculture on the Move. Thank you for viewing the program, and remember, agriculture is our business. Eat fresh, the pork. The money stays here. I'm Philip Sidney saying goodbye and see you again. Thank you, my brother.
I'm sorry about that.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.